All right, so we are in the final chapter of The Mandalorian. There were a lot of surprises in this chapter, and I'm going to get into it just so you know. This is a spoiler video. I will be going over everything. So if you're not looking for spoilers, if you haven't watched the chapter yet, you might want to come back after doing such. If you don't care, well then, stay tuned. Before we get going, I want to talk about YouTube purging subscribers. A lot of channels are talking about it. I don't know what's going on. This is the worst it's ever been. I've lost over 1,000. I actually gained back the 500 that I lost, and then they decided to take away 1,000. I don't know what's going on. They took 5,000 or 6,000 from Victor Von Doomcock. Nerdrotic lost about 2, and so on and so on. And it's not just our channels. I'm seeing regular channels talking about it. I went to Team YouTube on Twitter, and they are responding to a lot of people. So obviously they did something and messed up, and now people are being unsubscribed from channels on an alarming rate. Every time I've talked about this for the past 3 videos, I've seen people leave the comment, yeah, I got unsubbed. So just make sure you're still subscribed. Take a second and look, because I'm not sure what's going on. So anyway, let's get into the matter at hand here and talk about Star Wars that's actually good. Now, there were a couple of cringy things in this chapter, and I'll get to that. But for the most part, I liked it a lot. So it starts off with these 2 guys right here. These are the speeder bike stormtroopers. I forget what you actually call them. But they talked for like 4 minutes. At first, I was wondering what the point of this was. But it was really kind of funny to just see them goof off. One complaint I have during this whole conversation with these 2 is they pull out their blasters and they start shooting at a can. And, you know, haha, obviously they're missing. Stormtroopers miss everything. Yet they managed to take out Quill in the last episode while flying on the speeders at high speed. So it's like, okay, well, you took him out, but you can't hit a can while you're sitting stationary. Okay. All right. It's kind of some bad directing there. I think, you know, the scene could have done without that, because then while they're doing that, like I said, I'm sitting there thinking the whole time, didn't they just kill Quill in the last chapter? But yeah, they're not hitting anything here. Okay, well, whatever. Now the scene is saved when IG-11 shows up and takes them out. And it's really funny. He's like, I'm a nurse droid. The whole chapter, he's like, I'm a nurse droid. I'm here to heal and protect the baby. He ends up doing some really great stuff. He's kind of the star of the chapter to me. There was a lot of good stuff in this, but first I'm going to go over a recap of the show. IG-11 shows up, and in glorious fashion, he saves the child, Baby Yoda, jumps on the speeder, rides into town, and just takes everybody out. It was really cool. Like, he just comes up, saves the day. Kind of looks like the Mandalorian, who we find out his real name, by the way, which was interesting. We find out a lot of things. We get to see him with his helmet off, which was really interesting. I'm not going to show that. You should watch the chapter and see that for yourself. This is the first time they take it off. Really cool scene. He's like, you know, you can't take my helmet off. It's forbidden. And he's like, well, I'm not a living thing. So the IG-11 saves the day and saves him. But the real thing that I liked about this, and I think is important to point out, and that's the show has a really good villain now. So obviously in Season 2, Moff Gideon here will play a big role. And this chapter and Chapter 7 did a really good job of setting him up as kind of, you know, a badass villain to face off against the Mandalorian. One thing that the Marvel movies, until Thanos, have really struggled on is having a good villain. You can only be as good as your villain with a story. The hero needs a good villain. And this sets up Season 2, to me, to be much better than Season 1. Season 1 was really good, but I feel like they did a lot of experimenting and trying to find the way of the series. The rumors that it was a decommissioned Boba Fett movie and repurposed for a show kind of make a lot of sense. When you think about the way that this has been set up, it feels like they kind of just expanded the series out to 8 chapters by putting in a couple of filler episodes, which I did like, but it feels like those were just put in there to give the series some more legs. I think season 2 will be much more structured, and I'm really looking forward to it now, especially that we have a good villain. He has, like, we have Imperial stuff here, really good stuff. And he seems to know a lot about, Mandalorian culture, which we'll get into in a second. So basically, he goes after them, and he almost captures them. They have to go into the sewers to get away from his battalion. And they go into the sewers. They run into an R2-D2 unit, which had full limbs. I don't know if he was modified or if there's been other versions of that kind of R2-D2 before. That was really interesting. I should set up how they got here, though. Well, they run into the clan leader of Mando's old little faction, who all got obliterated. But the leader is still there, and she, tells him, hey, Baby Yoda here is a foundling now. You are his father. You need to get him home. You need to either get him home or train him, one of the two. You can't be free of this responsibility until he grows up, or if you give him back to his own kind. And then we get some this is the way stuff. And she says, I got to stay here and clean up. This is your duty now. Go take care of it. And then some stormtroopers show up, and she just absolutely obliterates them. There's a really cool scene where she sends one into the forge, the fire forge. He's like melts away instantly as he touches it. It was pretty badass. So she sends them down the way. They go to this little lava river here, and the droid takes them down there. Obviously, there's some stormtroopers waiting for them. IG-11 says there's no scenario where we can get out of this, and I survive, and the child remains safe. And he decides to go self-destruct to take them out. Now, here's the cheesy scene. There's like 2 minutes of dialogue between the Mandalorian and IG-11, where IG-11's like, you're so upset. And Mando's like telling him not to go. We need him. Like, you're telling me all of a sudden he cares for droids now. He killed IG-11 in the first chapter, but now he has this big heartfelt speech with IG-11, and he cares about him. I wasn't quite buying that. It felt forced. It really didn't feel very right. I don't know. If I have a lot of criticisms for this chapter, that was it. Like the whole don't do this, IG-11. It just felt weird and out of place, given the character. Like all of a sudden he cares for droids. Of course, I'm not really buying that, but and I get it. I'm sure people in the comments are going to point out, well, he saved his life and cared for him. I get it. I'm just saying it didn't feel right. It felt forced. I'm just not buying that he has this hope and love for IG-11 all of a sudden out of nowhere. So, they get out and they face Moff Gideon and Mando, who looks full-on Boba Fett now, which was pretty cool, flies up with his jetpack, takes out the TIE fighter, and that's all she wrote. Or is it? The real reveal, which was completely badass, is, of course, this scene right here. So it's revealed that he has the Darksaber. If you don't know what that is, I would suggest going back and watching the Clone Wars animated series, because the Mandalorians have their own lightsaber. This is supposed to be the leader of the Mandalorians who has this lightsaber. Well, Darksaber, I'm sorry. So, as you know, and they mention it in the chapter itself, that, the Mandalorians fought sorcerers called Jedis, which I thought was pretty cool. And, we got that mentioned to the Clone Wars. We got that kickback, so that was kind of cool. The Darksaber shows up. So somehow, some way, Moff Gideon here has the Darksaber. And I'm sure that this is going to play heavily into Season 2. And this is why I cannot wait to see what happens. So that's all she wrote. At the end of the chapter, we see him with the lightsaber, or with the Darksaber, and it just ends. He survived. So really fun to see a good live-action Star Wars series. This has been a great ride. It gives me hope that maybe, just maybe, we can get some great Star Wars down the line. Unfortunately, they can't pull this off with the movies. Somehow they're capable of doing it with television. We've had, some decent television shows. Clone Wars was pretty good. Rebels is iffy. This has been really, really great. So, where do we go from here? How are the movies going to play out? I don't really care, to be honest, as long as we can keep getting good shows like this. After watching Rise of Skywalker, which really crapped over a lot of things. Wasn't, in my opinion, very good. And watching this, I feel a lot better about Star Wars. And I can't wait for season 2. I cannot wait for Obi-Wan. I think that's going to be a great series. That character from Rogue One that's getting a show, I don't really care about. It seems like a pointless show. Maybe it'll be good. I don't know. I suppose if Dave Filoni is going to look over it, it'll probably be a decent show. But yeah, this was a great end to a great season, and I can't wait to see what happens from here. I'm really excited for season 2. I understand they're already filming it, so we should have it. I would imagine by the fall of next year, we'll probably be watching it, and we'll be doing this again. I had fun reviewing this series, and I think I'm going to do more reviews. I think the next series I'm going to review will probably be Picard, which I think comes out next month. If something else pops up in between now and then, I'll start doing weekly reviews on it. But as of right now, Picard will be the next one. And hopefully it's good. I like reviewing stuff that's good. Mandalorian has been fun to review because it's been a really, really good show. And I'm excited to see where things go. This was a fantastic chapter. And I'm really excited, like I said, to see where things go. So that is pretty much it. Leave me your comments. Let me know what you thought about this chapter. What do you think of the series as a whole? I mean, now we've had time to digest everything. What do you think of it? I'd really like to hear your guys' thoughts, especially after the Rise of Skywalker. How are you feeling about Star Wars now? Do you feel better? Do you think maybe the future is going to be okay now that we have stuff like this? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Also, throw a like up. Remember, engagement points, those really help videos, so comments and likes are very important. Please consider leaving some. Also, remember, make sure you're still subscribed. Very important. Double check. I'm sorry I have to ask you guys to do all of this. In a perfect world, I wouldn't have to. But, you know, YouTube's doing everything it can to take people down now, and it's really crazy. And it's unfortunate. Either way, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Share the video. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure you guys got that notification bell hit, and I will see you on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that, and subscribe if you're new.